Welcome back to Z-Speed, and thanks for tuning back in. Today we'll be taking this 5th generation Toyota Camry LE and replacing the stock radio unit with an aftermarket Hikity Android 12 head unit. So if you're interested in learning how to install one of these, just stay tuned. Okay, one thing to note before you order your Hikity Android head unit is that there's 2 different types of stereo systems that come stock in the Toyota Camry. This is the non-JBL version, and there's a JBL version, which I believe has an amplifier with it, but the JBL version has a little logo in the right upper corner, close to the knob up there on the right hand corner. It says JBL right on there. If you have that version, this is not that version, this is the non-JBL version. You have to make sure you order the correct harness for your car setup here. So we're going to be using the non-JBL system here. If you have the JBL system, make sure you get the correct harness for that. Okay, as you can see, this says Android 13, not 12, but since I've recorded this video previously, they've already moved on to the Android 13, so that's the one you'll be purchasing is the 13. Obviously, it's probably got a few upgrades. The main thing is, though, it still has 2 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of ROM. This is not your high-end Android system, but it actually works pretty decent for what it is. This is a $150 bargain Android system. It's still got all of the things that you want: Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, map, nav. You can use your buttons on your steering wheel still. Even comes with a backup camera, which I heard wasn't the quickest as far as when you put it in reverse, it doesn't just pop up real quick, and that has a little bit of a lag is what I've heard, but I'm not going to be installing the camera in this video, but it does come with one. So it also has some plugs for aftermarket amplifiers and subwoofers. So, there's quite a bit goes with it. Here's the little area. It shows you the different harnesses that are available with it, and more information. You just want to go through the whole thing and make sure that it's right for your model. Like I said earlier, you want to make sure it's going to fit the non-JBL system or the JBL system, and it's good for the 2000 through 2006 models here. And this is some more specifics on there. So kind of do your research here before you purchase this, but I'm just going to show you how to install this, the basics of just installing it into your dash. We're not going to do the backup camera, and I'll talk about a USB port to connect your phone really quickly, but yeah, we're just going to do the basic install here. Okay, we'll begin the removal of the head unit by removing the climate control switches, those 3 big dials right there underneath the head unit. This plastic panel is very fragile, I would say, or very flimsy. Let's consider this is a 2000 to 2006 model. It's probably got a lot of heat soak, so you want to be gentle prying this thing out. It may or may not have ever been removed, so I would recommend plastic panel removal tools, or at the very least a very thin flathead screwdriver. And what you want to do first before you just try to yank it out is to loosen the whole thing up by going around all the edges here. So I'm going to gently come in here and start to work it loose. I'm not going to try to pop it out yet. I'm just going to kind of gently coax it all the way around. First this side, then the bottom, and then the other side. I'm just gonna kind of see, what kind of condition this thing is in. Is it gonna be easy to remove, or is it sticking? Just get a feel for it before you just pull on it and yank it out, because you could damage this, and that's the last thing you wanna do. Okay, now that we've got it kind of loosened up, now we're ready to go ahead and remove this. So I'm just kind of working this side over here a little bit, but we're gonna go in from the top right-hand corner right up in here. That is where one of the clips are. So the clips are on the top right-hand corner and the bottom right-hand corner and left-hand corner as well. So you can see right there, that is a good pry point right there. You can see the clip right there, and then there's a clip below there. So there's 4, 2 on each side, and don't just pull it out because the other side has to be released as well. You can see it's kind of wanting to stay put on the left-hand side. So I have to get my plastic panel removal tool over here to break it loose, but just be gentle. You don't want to just, like I said, yank it out because it will definitely snap off. You can see after a little coaxing, it finally is, I'm able to remove it. So be gentle with this. This is probably the most fragile piece. The other piece is a little more sturdy. And then we just disconnect these 2 harnesses here, and the panel comes right on out, and we can get this little piece out of our way. Okay, now that panel's out of the way, we just have 4 10mm bolts to remove to get this head unit removed from the dashboard here. So you can see 2 10mm bolts right here. One's recessed back in there, so you'll need an extension for that. And it's the exact same on the right side. One bolt very easy to get to, and then one that's recessed down in there. But overall, these are very easy to remove, these 4 10mm bolts. So go ahead and remove those, and then we'll pick up on the next task. One note when removing the bolts that are recessed back here, once I loosen them up, I noticed I needed a little magnet on a wand to grab the bolt and pull it out of the little bolt hole because they kind of stuck inside there. So that might be beneficial if you had a little magnet to pull those out. Okay, now that all 4 of the bolts are removed, we can go ahead and pull the head unit right out of the dash. And what we're gonna do is grab the metal harness area down here where we remove the screws right in here. Put your hand right here, kind of yank on it just a little bit to get a feel for it, and then just pull straight back. And you can see that this thing just disengages really easily. This was like child's play compared to the other panel. It's a lot more sturdy and it comes straight out. So that was very simple to do. Now there is a harness that's attached to this little digital clock that's up in this little den on the top part right here. You'll have to disconnect that clip first, and then we have another part of the harness that we're gonna disconnect, and I'm gonna show you a better view in a minute. Okay, let's take a look. This is the harness to the clock right here, the little digital clock on top, and then you've got 2 more. This is the non-JBL, remember that. The JBL may have more harnesses, but just 2, and the one for the clock, and this whole thing will come right out. Now I will tell you that the little digital clock harness was a little more difficult to remove. It was kind of stuck into the little outlet in the back, and I really had to kind of work with it. But if you push right here with a flathead screwdriver, you can get it to break loose. Okay, I will say that the other 2 harnesses were really easy to remove compared to the digital clock harness. You can see this is the secondary one. There's 2. I'll show you the other one in a second. But this third one right here, this is the radio antenna. So that came out really easy. And here's the other 2 right here. So you got the clock and these 2 that are in the back of the radio, and then the radio antenna. Not bad. All right, let's take a look at this old stereo head unit. We've got it out of the car now, but we're not going to have to remove the stereo from this panel. The good news is we're just going to take some parts off of this old setup and place it onto your new Hikity panel. So the first thing we're going to take is the digital clock right here, which just has a couple bolts holding it on. And then we're going to take the ductwork, and with the ductwork, those little vents come out as well with the ducts. So we're going to remove both the ducts and place them into the new Hikity panel. So it's not going to be too bad at all, and we're going to get started on that next. But before we do that, let's see what's in the box.
What's in the box?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on in this box. we have several different harnesses. We've got some instructions with this little amplified setup, and we also have multiple harnesses. So if you've got aftermarket parts already on your car, let's say an amplifier or subwoofer, you're covered there. We even have a microphone if you want to use a microphone, and we have a plastic panel removal tool. So if you don't have one, you've got one in the box. So make sure you open the box before you do this procedure. Here's a little microphone if you want to go with an external microphone. There's an internal microphone as well. So yeah, not bad. This thing is pretty nice considering, you know, how cheap it is. And here's some more instructions right here about the Android player itself. And let's take a look at the actual panel. This is really nice looking considering how much we paid, which is not a lot. So this little unit will go into your dashboard after we replace the ductwork and the little digital clock on top. So let's go ahead and start with the easier part first, which is definitely going to be this little digital clock that sits on above the stereo system itself. It's held in by two Phillips bolts or screws, and they're not in there that tight, so you don't have to really struggle at all. They're easy to remove, and the good news is once you do remove these two little Phillips screws, this little digital clock, this literally slides right out. It's not attached with some other little tabs or something weird that you have to pry out. So that's the good news. It's very simple to remove and reinstall on your new panel. You're just going to reinstall it with those exact same two little bolts. Okay, next up are the vents, and it's a little trickier than I thought. One side is very simple, and we'll start with that side, and then the inside is much more elaborate, and you have to do some kind of weird maneuvers, but we'll show you that in a second. But right here, just pry up on this area right here. Look at that, and it detaches. Super simple. I thought, wow, couldn't get much easier, and I figured the inside would be the exact same, but no, they're gonna make us work for the other side. All right, finally figured it out. Had to remove the vent to actually show you what's going on in here. So this vent has been removed now, and let me show you exactly what we're dealing with here. We've got these two tabs, which seems pretty simple in itself. Two little tabs that need to be pulled back away from the vent because they click in on those little notches right there. They lock in right there. So if you can get a little pick, I've got a bent angle pick right here. I was able to pull it back and then lift up on the vent to get it to detach, and then was able to get the other side and lift up. Really, honestly, if you had another person helping you, it would be a lot easier for one person to lift up on the vent while the other person detached these two little pieces. And you can see that they lock in to this area right here. Those two little tabs right there, it's hard to see, sorry, there you go. Those tabs are locked into those little holes on these little gray clips. So if you're having issues with not enough room because of the radios there, you could take the radio out if it's going to make it easier for you, and it probably would. But I was able to get it out, leaving the radio installed by using a pick and pulling that way away from the vent and lifting straight up. It's a little time consuming, but it is doable. Take your time. You don't want to break anything. Okay, now it's time to place the vents back into your new stereo panel. Make sure you have some protection for the front of your head unit so we don't scratch anything. And I put one vent in off camera, and now we're going to go ahead and do the second one. Now, I could not get all four of these tabs to click in. I've got 3 out of 4 tabs to click in on both sides. It wasn't a perfect fit. I'm not sure if it's just my vents being a little weird or if it's just this new panel not being perfect, but it was pretty close. Like I said, I was able to get 3 of these to click in out of 4, and those vents were stable in the panel, but obviously I would have liked to get all 4. I'm not going to recommend that you use a tool like this. You could definitely snap these new little tabs off real easily. I think the best way is to just get your hand in there and your thumb and just press those in while you're pushing down at the same time. So push down and then take it and click it in with your thumb. I could not get it to work with that little pick, and I was afraid I was going to break the tabs off, to be honest with you. And I got a little more success by using my finger, so I could not get this one to attach. I think I got the one on the top part. I'm going to show you that in a second. But yeah, you're going to kind of have to manhandle the vent, push it down, and then click it. So you can't really see it, but I was able to click it at this point, and it was attached, but this one on the bottom would not attach no matter what I did. And these two over here, I had to struggle with them. You can see it wants to go in. You just kind of manhandle it a little bit, and then push it in with your thumb, and eventually I got both of those to click in as well. So, 3 out of 4 points of attachment, it's better than just 2 or 1. So it was stable enough. Didn't have any issues using the vents once I got it back in the car. But yeah, I wish it would have clicked in completely. Okay, I saved the best for last. We're talking about these 4 clips that need to be removed from the old panel and placed on your new panel. And these clips actually hold this whole panel into the dash, because you're not going to be able to use the 4 bolts that we originally removed. These things are very difficult to get out. You almost kind of need like a special tool. I'm going to show you a close-up. This is just me testing them, trying to come up with a way to get these out. It was definitely tricky, but this is what they look like removed. Here's the issue. See the very bottom with those 2 little ribs that stick out? Those need to be compressed. Then your other hand, with your other hand, you need to pull the clip straight forward. So compress those 2 and pull upward to get those to release. Way easier said than done. I was finally able to do it, but yeah, that may take you a little while. Okay, here's the GPS antenna. That needs to be above any metal object. So I'm placing it right in this little area. It's a good spot for it. It's got some really good tape on the backside, so it's actually attached to that little surface right there, and there's no metal above it, so you should not have any problems with your GPS antenna. If you put it in this area or the other side over there, I think you can probably put it over there too, and then that attaches to the back of the radio. Now these 2 plugs will actually be plugging into the harness that attaches to the back side of the Android unit, and I'll be showing you that in a second. I'm going to mention one other thing I didn't show on the install, and that's these 2 USB ports right here. You can either hook one or both or none to the back of your radio, and you could hook your phone up to the USB port or an MP3 player. You could run the other end of the USB port into your glove box right here. It would be a great place to have a little USB attachment, or you could actually run it into this area and hook your phone up to it directly right here. So, I didn't show that when I was placing the radio in, but definitely if you want to have a USB port available that's hooked to your radio, that's the way to go. Okay, off camera, I went ahead and attached the harness that goes to the radio plugs. This is the simple harness, the one that just goes to those 2 plugs that we pulled out of the back of the original stereo. And these 2 to the left, let me show you a little bit better right here. These 2, those are additional harness plug-in points if you want to run an amplifier or subwoofer setup. There's 2 harnesses available to do that, but we're not going to be even connecting those because we're not going to be running anything like that. We're just going to do a stock setup. So now I'm going to go ahead and attach the GPS antenna to the back of the Android unit, and it's pretty simple. There's only one place it'll attach, right there, and you just screw it in and as tight as you can get it, and you're good to go right there. So that's pretty simple. And I'm not really going to be able to show you me attaching the other parts of the harness, because once you actually go to attach the antenna, there's not a lot of slack with the stock car stereo antenna, so it really makes it real tight, and I can't really get my camera in there and show you everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach the antenna right here, and then there's just 2 more plugs from the original stereo that go into the back of that harness. So that's all I'm gonna do right here, and then we're about ready to now attach this whole thing into the dash. Make sure that if you haven't done it already, you go ahead and put these little white tabs that we pulled out earlier on the back of the Android head unit, because this is what's going to fasten it to the dashboard. Now, when you're placing the unit into the dash, you do have to line the vents up with the vent holes inside the dashboard itself. So that may be just a little bit tricky. It wasn't too bad, but it may take you a minute or two to get it to line up correctly. So I won't be going through a tutorial on how to use this unit. I'm sure if you're installing this Android unit, you're familiar with most of the stuff out there in the market. This has the standard that all the other Android units use: Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, AM, FM, video, nav, everything syncs up to your phone. Just really pretty neat because for a budget price of $160, you're able to bring this older car. This is a 2004 Camry LE, up to date with, you know, your newer cars that all come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It's kind of nice to bring something this old up to date, and it works pretty well for the price. So hopefully this install helped you figure out how to get this into your vehicle. If it did, don't forget to give me a big old fat thumbs up, and until next time, you know what to do. Just keep on repairing.